All right. Sports fans and other fans. Welcome to Skyway Bound Presents. We invite all of you to stay up to date with our latest and greatest. Like us on Facebook, like us, hit the bell on YouTube, and you'll stay up to date with our latest content. So I'm your host, Walter Matthews, and it's our tradition. We're just going to jump right into it. So today, Skyway Bound presents Colleen Kavanaugh. She's your gig girl.
Hello.
And what she founded was a personal development, speaker training, and transition strategy kind of business. And she's worked all over this. To me, personally, we've had some great people on this show so far. I'm amazed who I've been blessed to interview on this show. But
thank you.
she's been able to work on her voice. She was a sports host at ESPN Wide World of Sports, the game show for Nickelodeon. Let's see what else she's got here. She's got 2 personal development training, audio, and coaching programs. And I suspect there are some books in there too as well, or if not, they're forthcoming.
Yes.
She's been a cruise director. She knows how to communicate, and she knows how to work hard and make things happen. The reason I wanted her to come on this show is she's taking her dream to mold and make and create the life that she wants and make a difference in other people's lives while she's doing it. So today, she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does, how she got there, and she's going to share, she's got 4 key points, 4 takeaways for you today. I think you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, Colleen, how'd you get started?
Oh, hello. Thank you, Walter. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I am honored and grateful. But yes, it's so much fun. Isn't the podcasting fun?
Oh, man, I'm getting into it.
Whether you're the host or you're the guest. I know I'm usually the host because I have my own podcast. So it's so funny now being on the guest side of things. But yes, how I got started. Well, Walter, I've always loved personal and professional development. My degree is actually in fitness, but my heart was more of a performer. That's the gift that God gave me, but I just chose my degree to be in fitness. So I did that for a few years, but then I ended up coming back to where my heart was. And and that's, again, this is the skills and the talent that God gave me. I really can't take much credit for it. But the only credit I can take is the skills that God gave me. I was able to hone and build off of those natural talents. So I've been a performer. I was in, speech team and drama and all that. And as you mentioned in the bio, I worked in different areas. I was, a sports host for the ESPN Wide World of Sports in Orlando. And I was an assistant cruise director. Let me tell you, working on the cruise ships was definitely where I was able to hone my MC skills, because I had to interact with big audiences and I had to keep their attention and have fun with them. We're talking 200 and 300 people, sometimes
Wow.
500 people in
and
my
a diverse audience at that.
Yes. And when people are on vacation, they just want to sit back and relax, right? Their head, they turn everything off. So I had to really make clear what I was saying and go over the instructions, and yet still keep their attention and have fun and get them to get up. Have you ever been on a cruise before, Walter?
So I'm a Navy guy, so I have been on a cruise, but it wasn't a fun cruise. It wasn't in an industrial setting.
Okay, so when the cruise ships get back up and running, you'll have to go on a cruise. But for our listeners out there, if you've ever been on a cruise before, I was the activities host. I was that person that got you up and running around and having fun. So even if you just want to sit back out in the sun and drink a pina colada, no, I was forcing you to get up and play, do the Mr. Sexy Legs competition and the belly flop competition, things like that, when really people wanted to be laying around. So that's kind of where I was able to hone my skills. And again, I've always loved reading self-help books. And it finally came to the point where I finally was had my opportunity the very first time to go to my first personal development conference.
Oh, wow.
And that's where it all started, everything. That was the game changer. I'll tell you more about that later, but that's kind of how I got started in the industry, just being around the right people and surrounding yourself with mentors and awesome people and just wanting a change.
Well, speaking of being around the right people, just for our listeners and watchers, that's how we met. We met at the Orlando podcast. I think I got that name wrong. It was a podcast convention. Go ahead. You
Oh
look like
yeah, no, yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Podfest. That's what it was called.
Podfest. That's right. And for those of you who are interested in getting into the world of podcasting, I cannot say too much good about that event. I mean, people from all over the world, influencers show up at this event. What they've done with that in the event in the past 4 years, it's allowed people like me and Colleen to meet. And as she continues the story over the next few minutes, you're going to be like, how in the world did you get her on this show? Continue.
Yes. But yeah, so that's how I got started. I just love personal development. And after going through all these different jobs that I've done, I just said, you know what, I really want to help serve people, not just be an entertainer per se and help in the entertainment business, but I really wanted to help serve and help coach other people and train. I have a teaching spirit too. That's something God gave me. Not like teacher, like in a classroom. I don't want to have to discipline a bunch of kids, but teaching adults or maybe teaching a younger audience, maybe on a one-on-one or smaller setting. So that's just what I love to do. That's how I got
Those
into
adults,
it.
they're a bunch of kids. I mean,
Oh, that's true.
you can never
It
escape
might be
the
harder
kids.
to handle. Yes.
Well, you said we were talking earlier, and you got some points to share with our audience that I think they can appreciate. And even though many people in our audience, probably a lot of people listening to us, are more in the dreamer stage and they just don't know how to get started, but I think some of the points that you have for them will bring some, make it a little bit concrete. People need some structure sometime, and that's what I'm very excited about.
Yes. Well, I know since this podcast is all about entrepreneurship, I think you invited me on because you wanted me to share some points on maybe how I got started and in my whole business here. Well, the first and foremost, again, my business is personal development and professional development. So is my podcast, and that's how we all start. That's one thing we need to do when we start as an entrepreneur. But I wanted to give our listeners this quote from Dennis Waitley. He said, personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort, time, and energy needed to develop yourself. So that is the first thing I want to mention. When you are starting out as an entrepreneur and you're looking to start your own business, personal and professional development is huge. Invest in yourself to go to these conferences. Like you said, you and I met because we both wanted to get better at podcasting. We wanted to learn more. And not only are you learning, but you're meeting some high achievers. I mean, let's be real. That was like a 3 or 4 day conference. People have to take off time from work. And these are the people you want to meet. So I suggest to all of my listeners, do what you need to do. If you have to take vacation time, or if you have to, have a babysitter for your kids, whatever you need to do, and go both day and night. Wouldn't you agree? Day and night.
Absolutely. I mean, and for those people who feel that they can't or they're not ready to take that step, I mean, there's other ways to do it through Facebook groups as well. There's many ways to meet like-minded individuals that have the similar passions that you have that want to help you. There's a lot of people that really want to help you. You just have to make the effort and reach out to them. And there's ways to do it without spending money. But definitely, I'm a huge fan of going to conferences. I try to at least go to one once a year for whatever industry I'm interested in that year. And it's always been beneficial. The amount of cards I've gotten out of it and points of contact are invaluable.
Absolutely. And I know it's hard right now as we're taping this June of 2020. We're in the height of the pandemic still. We thought we were getting away, but we just had a rise in numbers here in Florida. And so it is hard to go to a physical event. But that's really what I love is immersion events where you're shoulder to shoulder with these people. But I even remember at Podfest is right when it started, we all started getting kind of leery of the whole virus. And I was walking around with my hand sanitizer wipes and everything, but still.
I accidentally hugged a lady that had a green dot. I didn't know. Because I
Yeah,
didn't
great
show up
guy.
on the first day when they said that.
Yes, yes, the dots that signified if you wanted to be hugged or not. That's a funny. But I'm just so grateful that we were able to have that amazing conference. And I know, like, the first one that I went to, the very first one I went to, Walter, back in 2013 was the game changer for me. And I invested in one of the programs. Well, let me back up. When I first saw that program or the conference advertised, I'm like, oh, I have to go, right? They had this great promotional video, but then it was $400. And at the time, that wasn't in my budget. Must, also taking off 3 or 4 days from work. I'm like,
Renting a
oh, looks like,
hotel.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, luckily it was in my city, so I didn't have to pay for the hotel. But, I said, well, looks like I'll have to buy the book again, right? And I'm all about reading books, but I'm like, I really wanted to go. And I'm telling you, Walter, I love telling this story because it was literally like a divine intervention that I made it there. So I came back home, and a few days go by, and my roommate, who had no clue that I wanted to go, like, I just saw it advertised, didn't really talk about it. I'm like, okay. She comes up to me and she hands me, she says, hey, I have this ticket to this event. I got it at a discount. Would you like to go? And I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh. And she got it at a discount because the host of that event went to speak at her place of work. So for only $150, let me tell you, I could not get my checkbook out fast enough. I said,
Nice.
yes, and I freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's even more to that story about that entire event. I'm telling you, that was such a game changer. And because I went to that event, I was on staff the next year for the same event. And then I met my business coach slash best friend slash business partner. Like, I've been the MC for her events. So because I was investing my time in volunteering at the next year's conference, I was able to meet more high achievers, and then we developed business relationships. So
And that is such a great point about the volunteering. And so going back to, you can, if you want to find a way to get there, I volunteered at this event. So the only thing I had to pay for was my hotel. Now, when you volunteer, you make sure you put in your time, because that's the right thing to do. But once you do it, they make sure that they work with you to get you to the events that you want to get to so you can enjoy it. And they get some benefit out of you, some work hours out of you. And it's not hard work. I mean, standing at the door, making sure people with the right tickets going to the right events. Oh, by the way, you're standing at the door, meeting people going into the right events who are the right people you need to meet. Oh, now you're starting to share cards and get other points of contact. I mean, you can get there. If you want to get there, you can get there. If you need help trying to figure out how to get there, give me or Colleen a call. So absolutely.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Volunteer for an event if you can't, like you said, if you can't, because some of these are high dollar events, but if you can volunteer in some way or figure something
They
out.
always need help.
Mm-hmm.
Always need help.
True, especially the one of some of these sizes where there's over 1,000 people at these events. They could always use help for sure. And that actually brings me into my second point of volunteering, to find a mentor or a coach. And maybe you work under them or you volunteer under them, and that way you're able to see the industry, the business of what you're trying to get into as an entrepreneur. So why not take out a little bit of your extra time and learn from the experts who've been doing it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whether it's volunteer. And again, that's how I got started too. I went to this event, and I later ended up working for the host of that same event as just an admin assistant virtually. And I'm not an administrative person. Let me tell you, that's not really something that I'm good at, but it was just basic stuff. I could do what he needed me to do. So it worked out well. So, and I was even getting paid. So, and so I was able to work under him and see, and again, meet all sorts of cool people in the personal development industry and the speaking industry. Whew, I could go on and on, but I'll stop
I
there.
love it.
So that's my second point. So the first point was, I'm going to test you. What was my first point, Walter?
It was get out there and make it happen.
Yeah, for my listeners, I'll reiterate. The first point was invest in yourself with personal development.
And that's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. Second point, was, I
Mentorship.
just want to make sure I'm speaking clear too. Second point, find a mentor, volunteer, do whatever you need to do to work under a mentor or a coach, and invest in yourself. If again, I'd rather pay the money because, if
It's
you
so worth it.
struggle, if you struggle for 6 months, you're losing out on all that money and time anyway. Time is a precious commodity. So I would rather pay a few extra bucks, even if I have to put it on my credit card. Now, Dave Ramsey might not like that, but I would rather have the training to feel confident moving forward. So I guess it's
Uh,
up to the
I
person,
love
but
the point about mentorship. I'm huge on people finding a mentor, and there's so many different kind of mentors out there. And sometimes you just have to open your eyes. You just got to open your eyes. And sometimes that mentor will actually be somebody that you never considered, like somebody younger than you. They just simply know more because they've spent more of their life like focused on what it is you've all of a sudden discovered that you want to join in on that passion. Well, that even though that person's younger than you, they still have done the time. They put the time in to learn it, and they still want to share it. Why couldn't they be a mentor to you? Humble yourself a
yes.
little bit, but definitely mentors. Mentors, you have to have mentors in everything you do. And yes, absolutely, great point.
Okay. And then my third point, I've got a few of them actually, but my third one is, as an entrepreneur, as you're trying to start your business, arrange your schedule so that you have a flexible schedule. And I don't recommend quitting your job 100%. I know some people say to just quit, and then, that way you don't have anything to fall back on. I don't know that I recommend that. I'm not very good. I like to have something, just a little bit of a security net, right? And so, but what worked for me was I did quit the job that I had just about 3 to 4 months later after I left that event. But it's because I knew I had some other things. I knew I was actually losing money by staying at that job. But it was also a step of faith, Walter. I mean, it wasn't easy, and I don't have anybody feeding me any money. So I had to get it. I had to find my own. Okay. So I had to pay my own bills. I didn't have a spouse. I don't, no one was helping me. So it was all me. But I took a step of faith, and sometimes that's what we have to do. And that's kind of another one too, just taking risks, but find something flexible. So what I did, Walter, was I became more of a 1099 person. So I was doing little gigs, and that's where I kind of came up with Your Gig Girl. That's how it all started, doing these different gigs that I was doing as far as event marketing and emceeing. And that's how the name came about, was because I didn't know what I was going to do exactly, but I knew that I was doing several different things, like working at Disney, but I was only doing that periodically. That wasn't anything full time.
Right.
And I actually enjoyed that because for me, I kind of liked the variety of different gigs. For other people, maybe they want more security. But if you're looking, well, if you're looking to start your own business as an entrepreneur, well, security might not be, this might not be for you. So security shouldn't be an issue. But what I found was, especially nowadays, you can find so many flexible gigs, especially online. Everything's going virtual with the
Yeah.
pandemic now. So there's so many things you can do just online, or different gigs you can do, even if that means doing 3 or 4 different things. But what I think is important is having the freedom and the flexibility in your schedule. So then you can help your mentor when they have an event in your city, or you can go to that other event that's a industry event that's in another town, and you don't have to worry about, oh, I have to work, I'm going to have to skip that. So to me, having a flexible schedule and building your work, if you will, while you're building your business, but having it be flexible hours, things that maybe you can control, a schedule you can control, or working from home at your own hours. So that, I
Yeah,
think, is
I like
huge.
that. I like to encourage people, just to add to that, is not everybody can make that full jump like you're talking about. There's nothing wrong with a layered approach, and we need to get over this this whole thing in society of like, all or nothing. It's not that way. There's a lot of gray area, and you've got kids, family, dogs, pets, parents, starting to get to the age where I have to think of potentially taking care of, my dad. My mom's passed away, but, I might need steady cash flow. So a layered approach to attaining your dreams, there's nothing wrong with that. And I totally try to throw that out there to people. You don't have to do it all at once. You can't, especially
Yes,
by yourself. All
for
right,
sure.
we're getting a little short on time, so go ahead
Okay.
with this next point. And
Okay, good. Yeah. So really, yeah, my last point is really just taking care of your health. Actually, I should have said that number one. To me,
yeah,
that's the first and foremost, first important thing, taking
health
care of your
before
health.
wealth. Absolutely.
And when I say health, I mean your not just your physical health, but your mental health, your spiritual health,
Yeah,
because without all of those, you cannot be successful. As we have learned again with the virus going around, I mean, it's if we get sick and we're laid up in the hospital for weeks at a time, yeah, okay, we might not die, but now guess what's happening? We're losing out on time. So we really have to be conscious of that. So still make time to get your physical activity in, and of course your spiritual side. Again, without our soul being spiritually fed, none of this really matters. And
absolutely.
also the mental, our mindset is so important. That's some things that I struggle with. Well, I think every entrepreneur struggles with, oh, I should just give up and just get a job, right? I mean, how many
I've gone
times
through
have I,
that. I go through that
right?
like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yes. So having the right mindset. And again, that's why all of the other things I listed, being around your mentors, coaching you, and other high achievers can help keep you up here and not let you get down here. And I want to throw out this scripture from the book of Romans 12, verse 2. It says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but wait for it, it says, but be transformed by the
Nice.
renewing of your mind. So that's what we have to do as entrepreneurs. We have to continually renew our minds and go at another level. As an entrepreneur, we have to think differently than maybe your friend who's at that 9 to 5 job. So we have to really be careful about who we're surrounding ourselves with, and we have to be really keeping our mindset. That's so important.
Nice. Well, we can go on all day. Colleen is a wealth of knowledge and experience in the world of entrepreneurship. We definitely look forward to bringing her back. But before we start transitioning to our close here, real quickly, how can people get in touch with you?
Yes, they can go to my website, cultivateyoursuccess.com. And if you go there, you can sign up for the newsletter. And I'm not going to be spamming in you. You'll be lucky if you get one once a month. I'm trying to get better on my newsletters, but I like to educate people about some of these topics that some of these things I just spoke about. And sign up for the newsletter. And I like to have some inspirational things, some educational. You'll also be able to find out when my next webinar is. I'd like to have some complimentary webinars. I have one coming up next week in June. I'm not sure when this podcast, when these listeners are listening to this, but all you have to do is go to cultivateyoursuccess.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you get a free gift. Who likes free stuff? Everybody likes free stuff, right? And you get the success-oriented mindset checklist for free. And when you sign up for the webinar, I have another complimentary gift as well, coming from one of my audio coaching programs. And they can also get a hold of me, Walter, by listening to my podcast, which is called Cultivate Your Success Podcast. You can find that on any of the major platforms. And in fact, some of the things that I talked about today, I talk about in episode number 18, transitioning during the great pause. So a lot of
Nice.
the things, some of the things that I mentioned today and that relate to you as an entrepreneur when you're transitioning, I actually addressed that in episode 18. So that's the Cultivate Your Success podcast.
Very
And
good.
of
Very
course,
good.
yeah, they can find me on social media, Your Gig Girl.
Your
And I'm sure
gig girl.
you'll have that in the show notes.
We will have that in the show notes. But I like to do this so people can hear it because
Yes.
thanks to you, I figured out how to get more bandwidth out of what I'm out of my Libsyn subscription.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So you're going to do you're going to just do the video straight to YouTube.
Straight to YouTube, and then get all the audio. So now I can increase the frequency of my content. So we're going to leave it there. We will bring you back, and we're so thankful that you decided to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, Colleen Kavanaugh, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Like we said, stay up to date with us on Facebook, on YouTube. On YouTube, hit that bell so you can be up to date as soon as we release our content. Additionally, if you know any social entrepreneurs, please connect us. We want to talk with them. We want to share their story and help them get from point A to point B. And then next, yes, our sponsor does exist, and they are selling their managed services. This program was brought to you by our sponsor, Mind My PC. It's an IT outsourcing solution for solopreneurs and small businesses who just can't afford on-site tech services. They're a 24/7 service. They're basically your outsourced IT department. If you're not an IT person, you need to give the experts a chance to help you. You get from point A to point B by having experts on your team. So consider making them your team. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, don't stop pursuing your dreams. Yes, the road is long. It is hard, but do not quit. Do not quit. Do not quit, because the sky's the limit. I believe in you. You can do it. Get out there and make it happen.
Thanks, Walter.
Thank you.